Well, hello everybody. Welcome to the L.O.V, the Untold story. Well, I have the pleasure today to welcome a pioneer DJ and a Hall of Famer, DJ Adrian Santos. He's here in the studio, and I want to welcome him. Adrian, thank you for coming down, my
Thank
brother.
you.
It's
I love
great
it.
to see you. The
I
last
love
time
it.
I saw you was 2 years ago. Wait, no, wait a minute. 2015. Yeah, well, yeah.
16.
16.
August of 2016.
And it was the awards, and
That's
we
right.
welcome you to the awards,
It was
and it
awesome.
was an amazing night for everybody, and
Definitely.
we had a great time. First of all, this is going to be on the website, on the L.O.V. Website, with your name, this documentation, which is very important for everybody to hear it from yourself, on your own words. You're going to tell the story from way back in the day. We need to do this. We need to leave our legacy in good hands. And Legends of Vinyl is dedicated to do that, to record and to document our generation, the first generation, so people can actually, learn and actually just so people with social media, everybody tells a story and everything is all crazy out there. So it's our responsibility to bring it out, to let people know exactly how it was done in those days, this, that, and the other. So I'm not going to be able to chat on Facebook, and I hope this is going live on Facebook. But we are documenting it. We're recording it right now. By the way, we like to say hello and to all my brothers and sisters, Puerto Rico. Yesterday was a very
Definitely.
special day for Puerto Rico. To all of us, we all grew up in New York. You're a New Yorker, no,
Yeah.
but you went to California in '76, for what I understand.
Yes, sir.
But my friends, this is just a little bit of a story about Mr. Adrian Santos. In 1970 to '76, you were a mobile DJ from in New York City, Club Fantasia, in Queens, New York. 1976 to '78, well, you went to San Francisco, Valhalla Disco, Fulton and Masonic Street. 1978 to 1980, disco in Boston, San Jose, California. Disco Boston, San
Hmm.
Jose, California. And own that club is also with two partners. From 1980 to '85, Silks Disco in California. Wow, terrific history, my friend. Well, there's so much more, and I want to just let everybody know that you're going to hear him explain it all. And what I like to do is I'm not going to interrupt you about questions and stuff like that, but what I like to do is I want to open the mic for you to go back, and I want you to just go back when you were a kid. All of us have that special person in our lives that actually gave us the opportunity, or maybe was our mentor. And in my case, Steve D'Acquisto and Francis Grasso were mine.
Wow.
And but
That's the
this is
cornerstone right there,
that's
bro.
exactly right. So this
That's the
is beautiful.
cornerstone. If you don't know Francis Grasso and
Right.
Steve
If
D'Acquisto,
a lot of people are under the
you just
influence.
don't know.
No, everything started in the mid '70s and no, that was we
Yeah.
paved the way. We actually paved the way for everything to go on. So let's tell the story. Let's go back, Adrian, and if you don't mind, take it step by step. We're not in a
Sure.
hurry. What we wanted to do is tell people exactly what happened. Let's go back to when you were a young man in growing up in New York City, and
Definitely.
go for it.
All right. So I'm a child of the 50s. I was born in 51 in Harlem at a hospital that's not even around anymore. And I am third generation Puerto Rican. Okay. My parents were, I should say, second generation. My parents were first generation Puerto Ricans that were born in New York City, like me, and raised there, and were influenced by the teeny boppers era, the Martin and Lewis era and Bing Crosby, all that kind of stuff,
Yeah.
okay? Growing up as a kid in my house, my father was a big fan of Count Basie and Duke Ellington. And on the Latin side, it was Tito Rodriguez and Tito Puente
Wow.
and Celia Cruz, all the legends, okay? That's what I was raised on as far as hearing music in the house directly from my parents. And it was something I related to right away.
Right.
Of course, the Latin side, because I also had the advantage of my father being a New York City police officer.
Oh, he was.
Okay, and at that time there was an organization for Hispanic policemen called Casita Maria. Okay, and every year they did a fundraiser and a scholarship for kids in New York, especially minority kids and Puerto Rican kids. But they had a dance every year where they featured a big name Latin act. Okay, and I got to see Fajardo and Celia Cruz and La Gorda
Sweet, yeah.
and Tito Rodriguez and Tito Puente. I saw all those bands playing live. And having already developed a liking for music, seeing a band in those days was like seeing a group of musicians that were professional in their approach to what they did. Okay? They had intense focus when they were on stage because they were there to perform. And to them, performing meant entertaining. If you weren't dancing, they weren't doing their job.
Absolutely.
Okay? So, in that respect, growing up as a kid, I grew up in the Motown era, and I got little to no allowance. But whatever I got, I used to go to a local neighborhood record store and buy 45 records. Some of you may not know what they're about. Okay? This is what vinyl was back in the day for me as a boy. Was buying James Brown, Papa's Got a Brand New Bag, okay? Marvin Gaye, the Marvelettes,
Yeah.
the Supremes, Smokey Robinson.
Woo, baby.
All right?
Yeah.
I used to walk into this place on Jamaica Avenue and Supton Boulevard called Soul City Records, okay? And a gentleman there by the name of Mike Fargo was a Jewish white American who loved soul music and jazz. And he taught me everything.
Wow.
Okay? I would come off the train to Myrtle Avenue L from high school and walk into that store as an excuse waiting for the bus.
Yeah.
Okay? And every day this dude would have another piece of vinyl like this and say, yo, I got something else for you to hear. And he would throw it on the turntable and it would be like, Papa's got a brand new bag. I'd be going home with that. Okay?
Yeah.
I think they were maybe 45 cents if they were that much, maybe
baby.
less,
Yeah,
okay?
yeah.
Less than $1
Yeah.
to come home with a record, and I didn't get much allowance, like I said. Okay, so that was the beginning for me. It was that, 45s, and then something that we had back in the day, which was vinyl as well, called albums, LPs.
Well, we're surrounded by this right now.
Long playing records, okay?
Yeah.
This is what the original guys like me and other cats played to entertain other people, okay? And what happened with me was I was such a collector of 45 records that when I would go to the grade school parties in the 8th grade and 9th grade, I would walk in with these records and the kids would say, well, you got the records, stand in the corner and play 'em.
Absolutely.
Okay?
Yeah.
And we had those turntables with just 3 speeds, 45, 33, and 75 or whatever. And that long spindle you would stack the 45s on, that would drop them automatically one after another to play the next one. Okay?
Yeah.
So the whole thing was how you stack the 45s to keep the party going.
Yeah, you take the
Whether it was
freaking-
chubby, chubby checker to twist, whatever,
you had to
all
give
the
it-
way
I
down,
know, yes.
limbo, rocket, whatever it was,
Yes,
it dropped in
absolutely.
succession, each song. That's how you kept a party going, all right? And I would stand in the corner and stack these records, and then in between while they were playing, of course, I'd be partying and dancing with the rest of the little
Absolutely,
kids.
yeah.
Because it'd be a birthday party or whatever, graduation party, stuff like that. That's what the initial was for me, what got me started in it. Then, back in Queens, back in the day, there were social groups, okay? One in particular called the Best of Friends, okay? A black social group that started out of high school, were throwing dances out in Queens at local little halls that you could rent in those days and have a band and play music. Instead of having a band, though, they were one of the earliest ones I saw using a DJ.
Wow.
Okay, and they progressed from the band into a DJ thing, and then progressed from Queens into renting places in Manhattan.
That's great.
Okay,
Yeah.
and everybody would go to their events. Out of them came another group called the Dow Twins, which are still around in New York City, and you might know who those are.
Jesus.
Okay,
Yeah.
those cats grew up in my neighborhood. We're all from the same neighborhood. I grew up in the neighborhood with Wayne Cobham and Billy Cobham.
Wow.
Okay, the drummer for Weather Report and all those people.
Gotcha.
You know, the legendary Billy Cobham, and his brother's a legend as a horn player. So all kinds of cats like that. You know, we played some guys that went on to the NBA, other cats that went on to what I did, DJing and stuff like that. Okay, but we all had an influence with each other. There was no animosity. There was no racial divide. I lived in a neighborhood with white guys that I knew, other brothers, other Spanish people, and we were all a community. Okay, we hung out. We played touch football, stickball, all that stuff that they did back in the day, handball out there in the streets, all that, okay? The music was shared, though, okay? When I went over to somebody's house, and if I had got some new records from my store, I would come over there, I was playing them, turning my boys on to them, okay? When we had the parties, red light parties, you know, where you turn the lights out and you start dancing to, you know.
I love that.
Yeah, man. That's the day, okay? That's what a basement party was about, when you had basements. Some people may not know what a basement is, but underneath the house, okay? That's where the parties were, okay? Because you could just go down there, you could party and play. When it came for a slow dance, though, all the lights went out. Okay, all you felt was the heat.
Yes.
All right,
and
the
those
heat
hands
between.
moving.
Yes, and that was when you played some nice slow jams, Billy Stewart, "I Do Love You," or something like that, sitting in the park, you know, and people just got their grind on, literally.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Without a doubt. Wow.
So.
Whew.
Yeah, man.
I remember those days.
Okay. So we went there, and I just continued to get more and more into the music. I was always attracted to music. So the best of friends, like I said, they went into Manhattan and started renting the places in Manhattan and doing their events there. It was there that I walked into one of their events, and a dude was mixing and looping the intro to Shaft. Okay, at that time, Isaac Hayes was the joint.
Yeah,
okay,
beautiful intro.
Yeah, I saw the man perform at the Apollo, and at that time period too, with the gold chains and all that, bare chested.
Yeah,
rocked it. That's the other thing about my life in terms of live musicians and famous people. I've been very fortunate to have grown up in New York at a time where they performed there, and having been influenced by my parents to go see the Latin people, I used to sneak into jazz clubs like the Village Vanguard when I was 18 because I could pass for 21 and see Herbie Hancock and all kinds of people like that. Ornette Coleman, Miles Davis. You know, I've seen, you know, there aren't too many. I think the two biggest people I have not seen that I wish, and I blew one, thanks to me being too loaded to go meet up with my cousin, was seeing Jimi Hendrix and Buddy Miles at the old Fillmore, which became the Saint.
It's absolutely
right? The Fillmore became the Saint. So at the Fillmore, I saw Ray Charles. I saw a whole bunch of other acts there, but blue, seeing Hendrix and Buddy Miles.
Sure.
Okay, and the other person I never saw because I was too young and he killed himself was Coltrane.
Oh, is that right?
Yep, I'm a big Coltrane fan. But as far as other jazz legends, Pharoah Sanders, Miles, all of them, I've seen them all.
Beautiful.
Okay, I saw all the early incarnations, Marvin Gaye, you know, I've seen Barry White, okay, Mongo Santa Maria.
Yes, I remember it well.
My first job as a DJ was playing salsa in a Queens club, a paid job, as far as in a club. That's what led me to want to go from doing mobiles and house parties and private sets. I always had an aspiration to get into a club situation, okay? It was very difficult in those days in New York. Plus the persecution from my family is what led me to leave. I was doing an event out in Queens, a backyard party. And in Queens, there's a thing called the Long Island Railroad that runs through people's backyards. And I had just found a mixer for like $50 at Radio Shack. Really simple, basic mixer where you could connect your turntables on the back.
Sure.
At that time, I was using Gerard turntables. I don't even think they're out. G-A-R. You?
Christ, I've
Okay.
heard of them. I
Okay.
never played them.
For a newbie like me, that
Yeah,
was,
wow,
an advancement.
A Gerard turntable.
There was no pitch control in those
No,
days.
there wasn't.
Mixing was not the point. The point was to play the right songs in succession to keep the party going. People didn't care about the technical aspects of overlaying beats or any of that. There was nothing to sync records or anything like that at all.
Sleep cure.
It was, slip queuing, and that was at its early stages in terms of putting in a slip cloth underneath the record on the turntable. Okay, and mostly it was slam mix, just timing it so that you could go run right into another without missing a beat and keeping the crowd going. But that wasn't the thing was the selection.
As I remember, the turntables used
there
to have
you
this
go.
rubber heavy thing.
Yep.
So what we did was we came up with a solution, which is the mat.
Exactly.
The mat. And the mat. And then what we did on top of that was that we used to put a 45 unders in order for it to just be loose.
Really? See, I didn't even go there with that.
And then you just let it go because of the turn.
Because for us, those mats there, the top one was enough to keep that.
Well, absolutely.
And keep
we got rid of this immediately.
Yeah, to keep the table moving. Yeah,
we still have them as memories, really.
Yes, man.
All that kind of stuff, but that is beautiful. So tell me, in the beginning of in the 70s, you were doing all of this. When was the first impact when it came into the transition from the 60s into the 70s? In my case, we were playing rock and roll, Motown, gospel music, in order to make it was a beautiful blending of music.
Yes, there was no classification of music at the time.
But right
it's
there,
whatever worked.
72 started to come in the influence of Philadelphia.
Yes, that in the minority community was there early in the early stages because that was the music that we related to. Even myself as a Puerto Rican, I was listening to back in those days WBLX. Okay,
absolutely.
Orange Juice Jones over in New Jersey, Symphony Sid. Okay, who used to do a jazz program and would do live remotes from the Vanguard and places like that. That's what got me attached to jazz. Reggae started coming out, and we had Marley and those cats. So that I immediately had an affinity for that.
David Mancuso was very much into that.
Yes, because stuff that came out of the loft, Samande Bra. Okay, I played that.
Jesus
Christ, before I left New York, I was playing that. Osabisa. Okay.
Exuma.
Okay. Mandrill.
Mandrill, absolutely.
Mandrill, one of the members of Mandrill is my fraternity brother, and his dad is my fraternity brother. Been to their house out in Queens, seen them play live. You remember the Schaefer Festival in Central Park?
In Central Park,
okay. That's where you went in the summer to see all these acts.
Yeah.
Santana, the original Santana, when they were doing this faded ass album, Abraxas. Okay, this is the Santana. This dude rocked Central Park one night. Grover Washington Jr. Closing out the night with Mr. Magic, and the entire Central Park audience walking out of the park singing the song and humming to the song.
Mr. Magic.
Okay.
Mr.
I mean,
Magic.
legendary performance, and this is what enhanced the experience of becoming and being a DJ. Okay,
I love it.
Seeing these people perform and play is what grew the bug inside of me in terms of loving music. That wasn't an issue. When I saw this cat remixing the intro to Shaft for 5 minutes, and all you heard was the guitar intro, and he just kept going over back and forth between two copies of the record, and the crowd was screaming. Everyone knew what the song was, but he wasn't giving it to you yet. Okay, and that's when I said, "Oh shit, I gotta,
Hey.
yeah, that's what I'm about."
Absolutely.
You know, I got to figure this out. How can I do this?
Yeah.
And I actually made a conscious decision. I was going to St. John's University, okay, and I was doing these parties and stuff on the side and trying to go to school, but I could not focus on school.
Yeah. Your
Okay,
mind was
my
what you
my
saw.
head was,
Yeah.
let me find out
It was an impact
how I
like
can
no
get
other.
to
Yeah.
this.
It was an
Okay,
impact. Yeah.
and I literally, the woman who I'm married to now, I told her, I said, look, this is what I feel I need to do. Okay, it ain't gonna be easy. Okay, I was doing shady stuff that I was trying to get out of. This was a way I could focus on something that wasn't shady, that I loved doing, and that I thought I could really be good at. Because the parties I was doing, people's feedback was, man, I didn't realize the sun was coming up. You started at 10 o'clock, dude. The sun is coming up.
That's right.
What the hell?
That's right.
You know, and you know, like I said, I did this party in Long Island, and these two cats from Boston came down to hear me play and to come to the party because they knew the people throwing the party, but they heard me play as a result. So this was an event, like I said, where I had just started to really get into how to do the looping of the music and extending the intro. And the Bee Gees, You Should Be Dancing, was the shit, okay? Because finally Saturday Night Fever had come out, and the general public discovered, oh man, clubs might be interesting. They started flashing light dance floor that Travolta was on, and the dance moves. Oh, okay. They didn't realize this was going on underground in the minority communities, the gay communities, the black communities. Right. That was shit. Party was, you know, you went to after hours and you could party there.
Absolutely.
Okay. Sure. So for the general public, Saturday Night Fever to me was the benchmark in terms of when the general public discovered, oh shit, and the record industry, realized this might be something we can cash in on.
What clubs do you remember from back until, let's say, early 70s? What stands out in New York City? Or any club in particular that you
I actually
remember?
went to the Loft a few times. When I first got an interest in it, people said, well, you know, you should go there and check that out and experience that. There was a place called the Cheetah.
Oh, the Cheetah. Yeah.
Okay. There's another one there.
Well, there was the Haven, the Sanctuary, the Machine, the Electric Circus.
Electric Circus I've been to. Nell's was a spot, but it was for black folks. It's called Nell's. It's still.
Where is that at?
It's over by Grand Central Station.
Oh, Grand
It's
Central.
a club over there.
Really?
Yeah, and it's called Nell's. Back in the day, and out in Queens there were some clubs, not anything really famous, but where stuff was starting to pop.
Well, in Queens,
you know,
there was. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I need to mention Paul Casella was playing at Menagerie and then the Monastery.
Okay.
And then there was in Long Island Expressway.
Yes.
Something in there.
There was also Peppermint Lounge and places like that where there was DJing going. Right, where DJing was going on.
Lemon Tree.
Right, I remember that spot.
That was early in the early 70s, like that. But they were really like mainstream clubs, really, nothing underground there.
Yeah. So I left out of there in '76, and I remember because my beloved Yankees got swept by the Reds that year in the World Series, and I left in October. In Game 4, the day of Game 4, sobbing on the plane because I was leaving the woman I'm married to, and I was leaving in New York, and the Yankees were getting their ass kicked.
So you went
with a box of records, big, huge box of records, a box of clothes. My mom bought the airplane ticket and $100 in my pocket, and met the two other cats from Boston out there. They had arranged for a place for us to stay in San Jose, and we were commuting into San Francisco to play at that place, the Valhalla. Okay, the man who owned the Valhalla, his nephew was Sly Stone.
Oh, okay. Cool, dude. Yeah.
Okay, so we were playing in the back of his bar. They had a big dance area and back room. We built a little makeshift DJ booth, and we did our show back there. And it was Disco Boston. And I used to close the night with this song by a group called Passport. That was like a jazz fusion record with heavy sax and everything. But we were playing all the, record radio hits. In those days, DJs were just getting to the point where they had the power to determine what the hit records were going to be. Okay, and in most cases, the DJs, you had to be an exception to the rule because we lived under the threat of, I could find another guy for $25 or $50 that could play.
Well, still,
Yeah, we really, if you're not going to play what we want to hear, we'll find someone else. Okay, so for a person like me coming from New York, I found that kind of limiting in terms of someone telling me what to play when I had grown up developing an ear for what was good to play or listen to. And my whole attitude had always been, okay, I discovered it, but I want to turn somebody else on to this. Long before I became a DJ, like I said, I would go share whatever I found in the record store with my friends when I got back to my neighborhood and hang out with my boys, okay? Hey, yeah, man, Mike had the new Marvelettes, check this out, boom. Mike had the new Smokey Robinson, whatever it was. And they were also guys that could appreciate jazz as well. One of my best friends, Johnny Curtis, the late Johnny Curtis, we were big jazz freaks, okay? He loved Coltrane. He named his son after him. Okay? So, I mean, we were devoted, to music. That was a large part of our lifestyle, even before we were old enough to go to clubs. That just enhanced it.
Any other DJ that you remember from those days, or were you on a record pool?
No. At that point, I was strictly independent. There was a record distributor on Jamaica Avenue, and I believe it was like 160th Street, that had some promotional vinyl. And I would go in there periodically and get some from them. But for the most part, I was buying my own product from my boy at Soul City Records.
You were really paying your dues.
Oh, yeah, because that's where I bought my first 12-inch to double exposure, 10% or nothing. Okay, Les Pamplouse, Coco, and all that. Okay, all that stuff. I was buying that.
Yeah, you were buying.
Okay, I was not in the pool until I moved to California. I was a total unknown newbie, and like I said, I was getting pressure on the family side as to why I had made those choices. And when I got approached by these two guys that heard me play that night in at the house party, they said, well, we're going to California, we're going to San Jose. They don't have anything that's on the level of an East Coast club. And I had been going to Boston to visit friends. I'd been to Lansdowne, 16 Lansdowne, the club up there. I knew about John and those cats up there. I wasn't on that level, but I would go into clubs and hear guys play. They didn't know who the hell I wasn't nobody. All right, when I went into Lansdowne, it was to see what that experience was about. When I went into the Cheetah or whatever, it wasn't because I was trying to get a gig. I was trying to absorb what was going on. Okay, so like I said, people started saying, hey, you should maybe focus on this. You're really good at playing music and putting music together. That's what led to that. When these guys approached me, that was at a point in time where I was ready to do anything to escape the afterlife I was living and the pressure on the family side in terms of, when in those days when you told somebody you were a DJ, their immediate reaction was, what station you work at? Okay, it wasn't about turntables. Okay, and like I say, when I got to Cali, the DJs they had there, one of them was a good friend of mine to this day, one of my fraternity brothers. He was considered a legend because he played the right records in a row. He didn't mix. He talked in between the records. He took his time changing them. It was almost like when I got in the latter days of Larry at the garage, where they would stand there and wait until he put the record on. He didn't need to mix.
He wasn't higher than a kite.
Yeah. He didn't mix. He didn't have to mix. Some nights he felt like it. Other nights he would mess with you and put the record on, take it
off. He had the loyalty of the crowd.
That's the whole point.
Will approve
That's
anything.
the whole point. Okay.
Well, when you have 1,000, 3,000 people in front of you, 90%, if not more, 99% of the audience is ripped.
So Luis,
stoned,
exactly.
And the DJs as well. It don't matter. I mean,
so this is what happened for me. Okay.
Yeah.
When we went out to Cali, we played a year out there in San Francisco, commuting back and forth and building this club in San Jose adjacent to a bowling alley. Okay, it used to be a famous jazz club that had sat there for years empty. A bowling alley was attached to it, and the man who owned it owned all the property and everything, wanted it to see it active again. So a friend of mine drove me to the east side, showed me this room sitting there. We spent 8 to 9 months refurbishing the entire inside of the room and making it into an East Coast style club. I'm talking spinning lights, strobe lights. We reconfigured a DJ booth. It was a split level club, so it had a sunken dance floor and it had an elevated stage area that we turned into a booth. In the front of the booth, we made openings for a fog machine. We had an hot ice machine in the booth. Okay, I got a more advanced mixer. It was actually what you would use in a recording studio because they still didn't have. They didn't have anything like we use now, but it had slides.
You didn't have the Bozak.
No, it wasn't until I got to Silks that I had a Uri and I was using knobs.
Oh, well, that's yes.
Okay, and that was like 3 or 4. We opened the club in '78. Okay.
Oh, okay.
So we opened the club in '78. It immediately blew up on the east side because the east side was all Chicanos, all brothers, and poor whites. Okay.
And the east side of California?
East side of San Jose.
San Jose, California.
Yes.
Okay, gotcha.
Okay. Which was basically like farms and vineyards and almond gardens, all that kind of stuff. And that's where those folks lived. But we opened that club, and it was like a resurrection for that side of town. Okay.
Beautiful.
And the club was so unique in its approach in terms of how I played, because I took the time to learn what music they were already into, okay? Because I knew that if I could prove to them I could play what they liked and played it differently than the way they were normally hearing it, in the mix as opposed to talking through everything, okay? And interjecting other music that I knew would fit in with that is how I learned what that audience was about. Because in California, you have people that are transplants. The blacks have come up from the South. They're used to their soulful, funky sound, okay? In those days, you had the Gap Band and the Bar-Kays, the Meters, okay?
Sure.
That's the stuff I could throw in there. JB, we were just starting to hear Parliament, Funkadelic, all of that kind of stuff. George Clinton was back in the early day, okay? That's what people wanted to groove to. I gave them that. Okay, then once they said, the whole thing with being a DJ in those days is if you build the confidence in terms of your audience knowing this guy can play, okay, he can play what we like. We can trust him to play what we like. He knows how to rock a party, okay. When we come to hear him play, he's about giving it to us, okay. I took that same approach that these musicians have when they come on stage to play. Okay, that same focus, that same intensity. Okay, when I come to step to the tables, I'm coming to do damage.
Yeah.
Okay.
Beautiful.
I'm not playing around.
Yeah.
Okay, but I'm not bombarding you with the hit record the minute I see you walk in the door at 9 o'clock. We're graduates of first to last.
Yeah.
Okay, we're not part of 3 DJs in a night, 4 DJs in a night. We're 9 o'clock at night. The club opens. Whatever time in Cali, if you played at a regular club, you had to stop at 2 because the club's closed at 2. In my case, the club in San Jose, initially we had to close at 2 in San Jose. They don't have after hours. When I got offered the job to go to Silks, that was after hours in Oakland in a giant brick warehouse. And that's what I had built up to getting to. Okay. I saw that with our friend Bob Miro and Mickey at this club in San Francisco.
Okay, can I ask you something? This is already, you're talking about 78 already, right? We're talking about
mid-70s. Yeah, 70s, yes.
How did you get to be, Bob Miro is a legend. Bob Miro, obviously, some of us have the pleasure to know Bob. And a lot of people think that Bob did only South Florida, maybe Atlanta, he used to work at a club called Backstreet down here.
Yep.
Backstreet, it was a huge place, gigantic, and the guy was in control. This guy, from what I hear, I never had the pleasure because I was all over the map except in Florida. But what I hear, from everybody, he was amazing. He was amazing, and I heard some recordings from Bob.
Yeah, I got them too.
But he goes back to the West Coast.
Right.
And what happened in the West Coast between you and Bobby?
Okay, so I moved out there. I tried to get into the record pool and initially was turned down. Once I opened that club in San Jose,
Which record pool is this?
BATA, the
Bata.
Bay Area DJs,
Okay.
Disco DJs
Gotcha.
Association, which was founded by John Hedges, our friend Chico Starr, Marty Bleckman. Okay, those two guys, Bleckman and Hedges, they're the ones that started Megatone Records with
Okay.
Patrick Cowley and Sylvester and all of them.
Sure.
All those cats were there at that time.
Okay.
So and that's who I was going to see play and learn and get lessons from. Videretti, all of them. Videretti was a superstar. At Chuckadell, shit.
That's another transplant. He's
Oh
from
my
New York
God,
and he
yeah.
went to-
So Bob though had a unique style. In the gay club, you play really intense music. It was strobed up at that time, but straight mixes. Okay, Bob Myro, and I don't think he knew it, and I know I didn't know it. There was a group in Chicago called the Hot Mix 5. Okay, they would cut up records, mix to the break, mix to the intro, restart the intro on vinyl with two copies.
Yeah,
Okay,
of course.
that's what Myro and Mickey Carp were doing. Okay, phenomenal.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
the
Yeah, he
crowd.
can bang us. He can bang. it
Oh
right
my
time.
God, phenomenal. Okay, you walk in the Studio West. It was down in the San Francisco Bowery area. The booth was up above the dance floor. You had to climb a ladder to get to it. To get into that booth was an honor. Okay, to get to know those cats to the point where they said, "Hey man, come to the club, come hang out." Okay, this is where I paid my dues, and me and Cameron Paul, the late that just passed recently. Okay, and a bunch of other cats. All right, if you got invited to come up into that booth, you were in, bro.
Beautiful.
All right, so we're sitting on the steps behind them. They're doing their thing out there. 3 turntables.
Yeah.
1500s, the advanced 1500s. We didn't play on 1200s. Neither did I.
Right.
Okay, these things were quartz locked with torque that was unbelievable. Okay,
Love it.
they're mixing 3 records at a time on both of them, and this other dude named Bob Beauregard. Oh my God. 3 turntables back and forth, nonstop. To the cuts, to the breaks, intro, back and forth. Mickey Carp used to take Grandmaster Flash, not Grandmaster Flash, Sugar Hill Gang, plus 10,
Oh shit.
and put it on top of another beat. Hip hop, hip hop. Crowd would be going fucking crazy. They would sound like me chipmunk voices, but it was right in tune. Right in the groove, and I mean, drive people crazy. What these dudes would do. They had parts where people knew they were going to take the record out. The crowd would be right there with the response. Boom!
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
So Myro and them, the two of them, you'd be sitting back there behind them watching this shit, right? Through the cubby hole, watching it, looking into the booth. And if they played something and the mix was tight, we would be like, oh shit, that was a tight ass mix. And Myro's thing was, he'd turn around and, oh, you like that? You can have that. Okay? Because he did the mix first, and if he killed it, and he knew damn well you were more than likely going to go and try and replicate that mix. Okay? So here's the thing, his attitude always was supportive. Always. Okay? You like that, huh? Oh, yeah, well, that's yours. You can have that now, right? But the other thing they would do, they'd wait through the record got halfway through, and he'd turn around and say, okay, Santos, you up.
Oh.
Yes.
Spot right there.
Oh, yeah.
Can beat that.
Oh,
How
yeah.
You want to beat that?
You up, and playing off of their collection. Okay, so now you got to dig through their crates.
Yeah.
I'm not carrying my stuff up into the booth.
Yeah,
my stuff is over at Silks.
Love it.
Or wherever club I was playing.
Best way to learn.
Okay?
Best way.
Lee, Cameron, a bunch of us sitting back there. You up? I'm like, what? He said, yeah. He'd be like at the booth, at the turntable, he'd be like, you got about 2 minutes, dude. And he'd literally come up and where you were, and, you better get up and go down there. Because you weren't likely to come back up in that booth if you didn't.
Yeah.
Okay? And it wasn't as if the crowd didn't know. But they figured if he's letting you have the tables, this dude must be able to play.
Yeah.
Okay?
Confidence in you, yeah.
All right? So
Absolutely.
the crowd, they would know right away that it was something different, another style or whatever. But they just, if it was clean and it was cool, they went for it. They didn't care.
Right.
They didn't care.
Right. I
You
love
know,
it. I love it. I
and
love that
that was the
story.
thing. We went in those days. You went to visit DJs you respected. When you got to know each other on a level where you knew each other really well, we
Hmm.
did what we called round robins.
Right,
Okay,
famous Ryan Robin.
and people, what? Okay, round robin. So I lived in San Jose. The Silks was in Oakland. That's like a 45-minute drive. I didn't start till midnight. I did a mix show. I pioneered a mix show on the urban AM black station before FM radio did it. It was called the Saturday Night Silks Party with DJ Adrian Santos. I pre-recorded that on 10-inch reel-to-reels, 3-hour shows mixed off the speakers in the station because they didn't have a jack for you to put headphones into. Okay? So you're listening to the music coming through, you're queuing up the record in your headphones, but you can't hear the on the speaker.
Oh,
And you're bringing it in. I have recordings of
sweet
that
Lord.
too.
Yeah, yeah, okay.
Okay?
I'd love to have that.
I broke so much music during the 6 years I was at Silks, and
Yeah.
it's incredible.
Yeah.
And uh, I broke hip hop music on that station. Arista Records bought commercial time because I was playing Houdini, The Freaks Come Out at Night, and all of that kind of stuff from back in
Wow.
the day. Okay,
Wow.
I used to play records that I would preview before I went to you could see me play. So Saturday night, 9 to 12 in the mix on the radio, 12 to whatever time the last person left at Silks. Okay, somebody would open up at Silks from 9 to 12. One of our new inductees.
Yeah.
Okay, he would have it rocking.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I could take it anywhere from where he left off,
Mm-hmm.
or being that they knew who I was, I could just start all over from scratch. And what I mean by that is tempo wise.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, in an urban club, you play all different tempos. The advantage we had of being first to last was you got to stretch out the night. Okay, you didn't have to play all the hits every other hour. Okay, I got them out of that attitude of you got to hear Prince Erotic City every hour or Michael Jackson every hour. You're going to hear that maybe twice. When you hear me play it, I'm going to be remixing the intro for 5 minutes, cutting through the break. 10, 15 minutes of Michael Jackson. You ain't going to hear it again until maybe later at 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning before we close, all right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going there again.
Gotcha.
You know what I'm saying?
No
I'm playing other stuff in the meantime, out of that, in and out of that. I had certain records that were like my call to the floor for certain types of music. If I was going into a breakbeat set, I used Nairobi, Funky Soul Makossa, the instrumental,
Yeah.
okay?
Yeah.
And that would be my call to the floor for all the breakbeat dancers.
Right.
One of my breakbeat dancers was MC Hammer,
Oh wow.
okay? MC Hammer started his career in my booth doing party raps for me on a Saturday night because I didn't do a lot of talking on the mic.
Mm-hmm.
It was mainly the mix.
Gotcha.
That's where I did my talking. And the whole place was going crazy, 2,000, 3,000 people. Silks had a whole second side. One of our other new inductees, Nathan, used to play on the other side. It was called Silks Hall. We didn't even open that side till midnight or after when the
Wow.
first side got overflowed.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, in that club, along with regular folks, for $5, okay, in a giant warehouse with 2 dance floors, a huge sound system, Bose speakers, Serwin Vega speakers, all that stuff, cabinets on the floor, bass cabinets. It was like the West Coast version of the Garage or any of those places.
Were you able to ever be at the garage? Were you at the
Oh,
garage?
I went to the garage. Play there? No.
No, no.
Oh,
were you
been
were-
there? Sure. Ray Calviano was the person that took me there. I went back home. I used to come home every summer.
To the garage?
Yes.
Yeah, he
for
used to live there. Yeah, he had a
yes,
bed
exactly.
and everything.
For for the New Music Seminar, I would come home. My parents still lived in New York at the time,
Yeah.
so it was 2 weeks of coming home. The first week I was getting comped by the labels to fly back, come to the New Music Seminar. That's how I met all these other legendary DJs that were my contemporaries because I was a Billboard reporter. My chart was being published every week in New Music Seminar, in Billboard, and several other dance magazines, all the top Billboard DJs. And so when we met each other face to face, we would talk about, oh, yeah, I see you playing blah, 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 and blah, blah, blah. You know, I even had Jelly Bean ask me one time when we first met, well, what's Egyptian Lover about? Because they weren't playing Egyptian Lover on the East Coast. I was like, well, that's what we call high-energy beatbox music, okay? If they heard it here, they could go for it, but it would be in the beatbox gang, you know?
Yeah.
And stuff like that, Rodney O and Joe Cooley. There were certain types of hip-hop they didn't hear back here. on the East Coast that I was playing out there along with what we were playing back here. Okay, so if Larry was playing Peach Boys, I was playing Peach Boys.
Cool.
Okay,
Yeah, gotcha. Right.
I got my first copy of Planet Rock
Yeah.
directly out of the hands of gentlemen that created that whole movement, Arthur Baker.
Arthur Baker.
Okay,
Yes.
and I got to meet Arthur Baker because Jelly Bean invited me to the Fun House, and I was sitting behind the booth in that room he used to have with the guys from Rockers Revenge. I was playing their shit. Okay, Arthur Baker was hanging out there. The next night at the New Music Seminar was the public debut of Africa Bambaataa and Soul Sonic Force doing those songs.
Right.
Okay. I saw Arthur at the end of the show, and he had a handful of the 12 inches. I said, yo, I know you're not letting me go back to Cali without this. He's like, oh, yeah, you from Cali, right? I said, yeah, I'm the DJ from the Silks.
Yes, that's it.
Bang.
That's it.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
a lot of stuff like that. I mean, as a Billboard reporter, that was awesome for a vinyl junkie like me because I was getting test pressings, white labels. I was getting acetates. I don't know.
Sure.
Acetates are raw platter. Okay, before they even pressed into a vinyl 12-inch is an acetate, the original master disc.
So, Adrian, we've been talking about the wonderful, good things that happened back in the day, the wonderful, all the beautiful things. There is always a bad and an ugly, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Can you do me a favor? And I don't want to depress anybody about this, but can you tell us a little bit about what went on with the bad or the ugly?
Well, yeah. Like anything in life, there's always challenges. At that point in time, when I was trying to make this transition and actually consciously become a DJ, where I could make a living and develop my skill, there's always going to be naysayers. Okay, family-wise, there were naysayers because being a second-generation Puerto Rican. My family was hoping, of course, that I had things better for them, for myself, and, and my siblings as we grew older than they had for themselves. Okay, although my parents were very accomplished. Okay, my father is a retired New York City police officer, and my mother is a certified accountant, or was a certified accountant. So their aspirations for their kids were doctor, lawyer, whatever, and in terms of moving up and growing into the community and becoming a responsible part of the community. Okay, my intent was to become either a social worker. I was going to St. John's. I had gotten accepted into several colleges. I went to St. John's and was taking general studies with the intent of finally getting into sociology and stuff like that. But like I said, this was at an era where the music was really popping. Clubs were starting to happen. People I knew that were involved in it, I was drawn into that sphere of influence, and I was attracted to that, and having already an affinity for music, and like I said, I need to find out that name, but I actually researched it in terms of going back to who the original guys I had seen playing at that event for the Best of Friends that were mixing the shaft. Yeah, okay. And I got the names, and one of them turned out to be a name I was familiar with. I don't really think I ever knew the guys, okay? But it was their playing that influenced me to figure out how I could get to that, okay? And playing in these events and little house parties and private parties, backyard parties, is what built up my confidence that I could do that because the feedback I was getting was positive, okay? The negativity in terms of people around me that said, what's a DJ? Why do you want to be a DJ? You were going to St. John's. You play basketball. You could be a basketball player as good as you play. Why wouldn't you try going for it? Nah. I was like, I'm in love with music. Okay, I like this. This is what gives me joy. I like to dance myself at that point in time. Okay, so knowing what I like to dance to, and knowing the ear I had for music, I felt within me, I know what I could play that will make people react positively and have a good time. Okay, and that's always been the focus for me and what I feel a DJ should be doing, entertaining people and educating them to the new stuff that's coming.
Beautiful.
Okay, it's
Yeah.
really simple.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter to me how you get there, what tools you have to use to get there. Okay, it's the end result that's more important, not how you manipulated it to get to that point. You want people walking away saying, man, that boy could play. He jammed, he played all my songs. I got my life on, okay? That's what they say nowadays. That's the reaction I would get when I play, okay? And I wasn't satisfied if I didn't get that reaction. That's what I lived for. That's what all DJs in that era lived for, okay? We were a particular group of people that our focus was about music and what we could do to enhance it and present it in a way that made people feel good and have a good vibe. The negativity to that was the competition from people who didn't get those opportunities that were haters.
Yeah.
Okay.
Still said.
Still right, still around. And not as much, but still around. Okay. But even more so from club owners. Okay, with this elitist attitude. They don't do the research for the music that you were going to play. They didn't stand up there at the turntable, facing any potential embarrassment from fucking up. Okay? But they thought they could tell you how and what to play and what their crowd wanted.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, nah. All right? No.
How true.
Okay?
How true.
That's the base. That's what the basic deal was. On the top of the fact that they tried always to underpay you until you proved your worth. Okay, you got paid under the table. There was no Social Security. Okay, there was no health benefits. I got fired at Silks. I booked the group 5-star. I used to be not only the head DJ but the entertainment director for the club. I booked the group 5-star. All fall down from England, okay? I broke the record. This gentleman in New York named Steve Stoff was the RCA national rep at the time, was bringing them over from England to videotape Soul Train in L.A. on Saturday. They brought in the Silks on Friday night. They performed live at Silks. You only paid $5 to get them in and see it, okay? I wasn't expecting anything out of the booking or anything other than the satisfaction of knowing I had broken the record. And their first appearance in the United States before they even taped Soul Train was at Silks.
Oh, beautiful.
Okay?
Yeah.
The owner fired me later that night because the man from RCA, when he got kicked off with the money that they paid 5-star, tried to kick me like $200 for hooking up the show for him. And the owner took offense to that.
Wow.
And fired me
Wow.
over that.
Over that.
Okay?
Yeah.
Meanwhile, I've already been playing there like 4 years now,
Exactly.
you know, with 3,000 people.
What a piece of,
you know,
what
yeah.
a piece
Oh,
of
yeah.
shit. What is his name? Or what? He's still alive? Or
He's
what?
still alive,
He's
and
still
I'm
alive.
not. I'm
You're
not going there.
You know
okay?
who you are.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what you are.
That was the second time. The first time, Bob Miro had to intercede for me because I played a slow record too early in the night. And I'll say this much. The ownership of Studio West, Silks, and Backstreet are all interconnected. Okay? Like I said, Miro was the mentor, the legend already there when I got there. He's the one that helped me finalize learning beats per minute, okay, bars and measures. At that point, I wasn't concerned about that. I was concerned about putting the right records together.
Sure.
As 12 inches came out and it came more to 4 on the floor beats, he's the one that taught me all of that, okay? He used to have a code for his beats per minute since he was a pharmacy student. He used the letters from the alphabet for 120. If it was a 124, it was a certain group of letters. If it was 122 beats. And what you young cats may not realize is that we used a stopwatch, okay? A lot of my research time was playing the record, hearing the record, learning the record, and in this hand, a stopwatch counting the beats per minute. Okay? A whole lot of hours that now I still play to this day, in case you guys don't realize this.
Yeah.
I'm 67 years old.
Yeah.
I don't play in the past. I'm playing house music. I'm playing current stuff, classics, remakes of classics. I very seldom go back to the 80s. I broke all that music. I really don't feel the need to go there unless I'm doing an event for somebody as a favor, which is coming up in September, the Make-A-Wish Foundation.
Oh, is that right?
Okay?
Yeah, okay.
I'm going to Cali in September, Labor Day, to do Make-A-Wish Cancer Foundation for children.
Okay.
And I'm playing
Beautiful.
Silk's music.
Oh, sweet.
One of the few times you'll see me playing
Okay.
that.
Okay, I hope
Okay.
you record this.
Oh yeah, I
It
record
will be
everything.
recording, yeah.
Yeah. So nowadays I'm playing house. That's what for me club music has progressed into. The negativity back in those days, like I said, was the threat from the club owners of thinking they could find somebody else that could do what you did. Okay? In New York, they didn't treat DJs that way. When you proved yourself, those cats got $1 a head plus their salary. I was lucky to get what I got, which was good money back in those days. Okay? But, you know, you still had to put up with bullshit from the owner or some manager in the club that thought, you know, he could tell you what you should be doing. I'm like, dude, you're not the one that's rocking this crowd, okay?
Well, I always say the
you know.
same thing. I usually, you know, the DJs, people come to hear the DJs. They don't come to basically, if you go to a club, the bartender, manager,
Yeah.
buzz boy, owner, no. They
No.
come to hear the DJ.
No.
The DJ makes a difference. The
Because
DJ,
here's the deal. When before I got to Silks and I had the Disco Boston, right? I had the keys to that place. My wife will tell you, I spent 3 hours a day in that club by myself playing.
Just sharpening it out.
Yeah, working on records, working on seeing what worked, what didn't work, what stuff I got from the pool,
Do
whatever.
your homework.
Yes,
That's
you have to do your homework.
Yeah.
Okay, I do photography now. You don't get better at photography unless you shoot.
yes.
It's the same
have
thing with DJing.
Yes.
Okay, but before you go out there to present yourself in those days, you had to have your shit together.
Yeah.
Okay, there was no time for practicing or experimenting
Right.
unless you knew where you were going.
Absolutely.
Okay,
Absolutely.
okay, you're talking about a dude here who there was no. I'm on Tractor nowadays. Okay,
Oh, you are. Okay.
there was no Serato, no Tractor. It was turntables and vinyl. Okay, so 3 turntables in the booth. The third table over here, as I was talking about with the spindle and the 45s. Okay, here I am with the centerpiece of a toilet bowl thing, toilet paper, sitting it on the centerpiece with the tall spindle in it on the third turntable. Okay, sit the record on the top of the toilet paper thing on the spindle, counterbalance the arm and the weight of the arm, and turn the needle upside down,
Yeah.
and play the record backwards from inside out on the beat.
That is nasty.
Okay, Run DMC. It's like that, and that's the way it is. Playing backwards. There's recordings too. And on this is the regular version with me scratching and cutting inside. It's like that, and that's the way it is. It's like that, and that's the way it is. Okay.
Freaking awesome. Yeah.
There's witnesses to that, and
you give me
recordings.
that. I totally can see
You
it.
know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
this is what the challenge was for us.
Yeah.
Was to make that presentation, okay? To come with this
Well, the
every week.
risk takers, you were,
Yeah.
the pioneers, risk
Yeah.
takers. We paved the way, man, in every way, shape,
You
and
know,
form.
and that's
What can
what
I
it was
say?
about for us. It wasn't. There was no social media. There was no Facebook. There was no cell phones for people to stand there and videotape. There was no that other thing that people look up song titles with in the clubs that I see on YouTube. That shit. People were too busy dancing. Okay. And when it got to the point where I perfected the mixes, I actually had a way of playing songs that went together thematically. Okay, if you're playing songs that are talking about love and relationships, in those days, the production and the beats and the music fit together so you could do sets like that, going from the Whispers to Evelyn King to Steve Arrington or whatever. But it was all in the same thought process in terms of what they were talking about. If you're playing party jams and it was something about, rocking the crowd. All of that music fit together. The roof is on fire. We don't need no music. Let the motherfucker burn. Right into dun 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 dun. It's time.
Yeah.
You know, it was about rocking it.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
people didn't stand around. The guys that were wannabe DJs or aspired to get to that level, yeah, they might stand outside the booth. In my case, it was a plexiglass booth that people could, if they stood up on the platform, could peek into and look at and try and see what it was I was playing, okay? And as I said earlier, I had a lot of white labels and test pressings, okay?
Yeah.
And people would be like, damn, what is that? What is that?
Yeah.
You know, they'd knock on the door, and there was a light man between me and the door, and nobody was allowed in the booth unless I said yes.
Exactly.
Okay, so the light man would say, you know, what's up, bro? Hey, man, you know, can you tell me what that record is that he's playing? You know, and it would be radio people too, okay? The KSOL music promotion person, Marvin Robinson, was there every Saturday night right outside the door. KDIA, the station I mix for, Jeff Harrison, their program director, right at the bar or outside the booth, okay?
Right.
But in case of Jeff Harrison, he would take notes and then get with me on Monday. Hey, man, you played this record that was pretty funky. He was like, Men Without Hats, Safety Dance. Yeah. Oh, man, call me up at the house cursing me out. This is the first time we've been able to get an outside line. You played some song that sounded like Planet Rock with the Temptations singing on it. I was like, what did I play sound like? Oh, yeah, that's the new Bombada. It's called Play at Your Own Risk. Well, this is the first fucking time I've been able to get a line out. You know, people are calling up wanting us to play that song. We don't have that at the station. I said, yeah, I know you don't. You know, can you come put that on a card for us, okay? Or I would do, if you see me playing on Facebook, you see that reel-to-reel tape, okay? That's another thing Miro taught us, how to splice tape.
Oh, yeah.
All right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. Michael Jackson versions that were done for Silks on splicing on reel-to-reel, playing in the mix show, right? He's calling me up. Hey, man, they don't want to hear that single version. They want to hear your remix of Michael Jackson's Working Day and Night. I'm like, oh, okay. When do you think you can come by the station and card it up for us? Not willing to pay you for it, mind you.
Right.
They just wanted to use your mix. So the thing was, you went to them and you said, okay, if you're going to play my version of that mix and I'm carding it up for you, the thing you have to say, ask to every DJ that plays it during the day or night, is that's an Adrian Santos remix from the Silks of Michael Jackson.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah. Well, the passion of this man is real. I mean, he's really telling it like it is. I am so happy that you are really here with us, Adrian. You know, we need to keep telling the story, and we need people like you to come forward. If anybody's interested in sitting here at the studio telling your story, please just give us a call. I'm here for you.
Yeah, it's important, okay?
It's extremely
It's important for the art form. I'm seriously, passionately about the art form, okay? I know the role I played in forming it and helping to develop it, even though it was on the West Coast. And I'm really, really proud and happy to be a member of this organization, if only because of the fact they're beginning to recognize things that people did outside of New York, okay? I'm a New Yorker. I started playing in New York. I took it elsewhere in order to find my space, okay, find my spot. I found it. I had my church, okay?
Dig it. Yeah.
I had my church. I played for all different types of audiences of all nationalities and sexual persuasions. As a straight man, I'm extremely proud to say I played at Trocadero Chancellor in San Francisco. Knowing who was in that booth before me? Shit, please.
Yeah, I hear that. Yeah.
Okay?
That's
Please.
Yeah. Absolutely.
All right?
Yeah.
And I also know that I made the Silks my house. And so did Michael and Nathan, the two other dudes that are coming into the organization from that club. That was our spot.
This is another. That's Bada. There was Bada, and the other one is
The Pros.
the Pros. All right. And this dear gentleman I just met, and we welcome the list that he sent us. You know, and I know there's a couple other.
And that goes to the point I was saying in terms of the record industry at that time, did not realize there was a whole urban R&B influence in clubs on the other side of the bay. They were used to going to all the traditional clubs in San Francisco, the Stud, everywhere, I-Beam, Truckadero. I have no problem with that. But that was for the dominant gay crowd that started this whole industry and promoted it, okay? So they didn't realize what was happening on the urban black minority side until I got to the Silks and became a Billboard reporter, and then eventually became the head of BATA. Okay, and I used that to bring more hip hop to the West Coast because I was honest enough with the promoters, you know, to tell them only so many guys are going to play this type of music in my pool. Okay, the first house music record I got was sent to me as a reporter out of Chicago from DJ International. Music is the Key, J.M. Silk. Then I started getting stuff from Trax Records, and I called those guys out there and I said, hey, I run a pool. There's a couple of people I know that might be able to get to this sound. I'm definitely one of them. I want more of this, okay? And they said, okay, well, how many things you could do? I said, let's start off with like 10, you know? And I gave them the people that I knew are people in the pool that would take chances. Not every DJ, even in the pool at that time, was a person that was going to take the chance to break something new or play something new. They waited in a lot of cases to see or hear about the success from other people that they respected, and then they might try it, okay? Because they lived, like I said, under the pressure of club owners who, you know, if you cleared the dance floor, thought that was a mortal sin, all right? That was the pressure. You don't want to clear the dance floor, and fortunately for me, it very seldom, if ever, happened. You know, one time, the main time it happened is the most memorable time for me. You're going to get a kick out of this. I'm playing on a Saturday night. It's 3 o'clock in the morning. I used to play from anywhere from low tempo funk, like, you know, Malcolm McLaren, Buffalo Gals, all that stuff, In Deep, all of that. Start at 12 o'clock. By 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, I might be up in the higher 120s, whatever. In those days, there was a song called by Ready for the World called Oh Sheila. It was 136 beats a minute, okay?
Sure.
But there was a pop record out at that time that was the shit that I was determined to try, and it was called Whip It.
Oh yeah, Whip It.
By Diva.
Yeah, Diva, yeah.
In a black club.
Oh shit, no kidding.
All right? At the end of Ready for, I strobed the record down. Okay, on those 1500s, you could strobe it down -10, and it still sounded good because they had quartz lock. It's like what you play on now, where you put that quartz lock in and you don't hear the change of the tempo. Yeah, exactly. So strobe it down at the end of the record. Oh Sheila, they went fucking berserk, right? Of course, every record I had at least 2 copies or 3 copies of, but 2 copies of Devo. So I see them go off to it. Boom, second copy on the turntable. Intro, just back and forth. Whip. They're not even hearing the basic part of the song yet, right? The whole place is going crazy. Guess who walks in the door? And they knock on the door and they're to let Mel Sharon in.
Oh, okay.
From the Garage.
Okay, yeah.
Okay? And West End Records.
Yes,
okay?
yes, of course.
I've already played Peach Boys, Spark, Loose Joints. I've been playing that shit, right? He used to just come into San Francisco. He said, nah, you got to go see this guy over in San Francisco, in Oakland, because you're from the Garage, and that's a garage-style club. Okay? So he said, really? So he comes over there, and I'm playing Devo. He's there for the whole thing, to see this whole thing, right? And it was the peak record, and I was going to play. It was like 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning. In a black club, you got to play a slow record, okay? And that's when the owner would let me play one. After the bar had closed, all the glasses had been picked up off the table. 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, he didn't trip. Any earlier than that, he would have a fit. Okay, so I got to that point. So I knew I was going to be playing a slow record, and I was determined to hit them with this song, and it went over. Huge, right? Everybody's going, good. He comes in the door. They close the door behind him, and he's standing in the corner, and his mouth is wide open. He cannot believe it, right? And in his arm, he's carrying a 12-inch copy of Tyler Garter, Heartbeat.
Yeah, I tell you.
90 beats a minute. I'm playing at 160.
Oh, shit.
Okay? He's freaking out, right? He's like, they told me this was a garage-style club. You know,
yeah,
I'm bringing Tanya Gardner. That's not even out yet, right?
yeah,
And so I had met him briefly once before on a trip back to the New Music Seminar, but I go over to the door, put on the slow record after the Devo thing, right? Put on the slow record. I walk over to, hey, thank you for coming. I really appreciate you coming to the club. You know, I'm Mel Sherman. I said, I know who you are. You know, I said, we met once before. He said, the first thing he said to me was, I have never seen a minority crowd dance to anything that was that fast.
Mm-hmm.
He said, Larry could never play this at the garage.
Yeah.
He said,
That's true.
he said, I'm not, he said, and then he said to me, I'm really concerned that I should even give you this record. That's his label there.
Yeah.
West End Records.
Yeah.
That's probably the song, isn't it?
I have no idea what that
Probably is. It says 99 beats a minute.
Yeah.
I bet you it is, homeboy. Hell yeah. Heartbeat. So Mel Sharon from the garage is holding this under his arm, and he looks at me, he says, man, I don't know if you can even play this. You know. He said, I never seen anybody, he said, this predominantly black minority crowd, he said, I've never seen anybody dance to music this fast. I said, well, that's the first time I've ever played it. I strobed it down, and it worked, okay? I said, I'm playing another slow record after this, so why don't you let me listen to this on the turntable, right? He says, but it's only like 90-something beats a minute. I don't know if you can play this. I said, well, see, you don't know, Mel. I said, I built them up to this peak. I'm playing these two slow records. I'm still going to be playing for another 3 or 4 hours, dude. I start all over again, okay? I may start off with like Atomic Dog or More Bounce to the Ounce, because like you said, people are messed up at that point of time, and they just want to grind on each other. And when you're talking in a minority club, you play More Bounce to the Ounce or Atomic Dog, it's hump time.
Absolutely.
All right?
Yeah.
This record's right in there.
Yeah, it's sweet,
okay?
Sweet slow
and right at the same time was a record called Outstanding by the Gap Band. Okay?
Good band, yeah.
So I listened to it and I said, oh man, I can write. Watch.
Well, that's a beautiful transition between what from that mellow right into the boom.
So I started off with this by mistake, and I say that now by mistake. Because what happens? The heartbeats start right. The heartbeats were too much of an intro. The floor cleared. So I was going to play the Gap Band next anyway. I should have led with the Gap Band, Outstanding, because they knew the song. That was their shit. They would have been right there out of the slow record, right? So I went right to it. I didn't even bother playing the whole thing of this, right? Because I saw the floor clean. I went right, and I had it on the other table, so I went right to it. Came right back, boom. Waited to the break. Outstanding, can you run me up? Put the heartbeats on top of that. Boom, 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 boom.
So you kept them there now that you grabbed
Sharon's in the corner like a Cheshire cat. Running from the ear to ear. He's like, how the hell did you do that? I was like, dude, I know who I'm playing for. This is me, okay? I fucked up. I should have started with the Gap Band, because you see what happened. They were boom, dun, 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 dun. They're like, oh, okay, this is where he was going, and just kept on going, right? Before he left the booth, he says to me, anytime you're in New York, he said, you come home? I said, yeah. I come home every summer for at least 2 weeks. And at that time, the New Music Seminar was still going on, right? So he said, man, when you're in New York, he said, don't ever come to New York and not call me. I said, okay. And he says, you been to the garage? I said, yeah, Ray took me to the garage. And I've been there a few other times with other people, Bobby Shore and some other cats, Vince Pellegrino, a bunch of other cats, Yeah, man. Whenever you want to go to the garage, call me. Call the office. If I can't get on the phone, just tell the secretary you're in town. Sure enough, I go back for the next music seminar, call West End. He picks up the phone. Adrian! I was like, yeah. He says, you in New York? I said, mm-hmm. He says, you want to go to the garage for the rest of the time you're here in town? I said, oh, yeah, hell yeah. Right? So he puts my name at the door. I go to the door. The dude's standing downstairs outside the garage door, right? He's like, with that lit clipboard, who are you? I was like, yeah, I'm on Mel Sharon's list tonight. Yeah, really? I'm like, who? Adrian Santos. Oh yeah. Okay, there you go. Boom. Get upstairs. I was at the fruit bar. They had that fruit bar down at the bottom of the booth thing, And somebody must have pointed me out. I don't really understand what happened. But the dude from, I used to stand at the bottom of the staircase leading up to the booth, comes over to me and says, somebody said you're Adrian Santos, you're Mel Sharon's guest. I said, yeah. I'm like, how the hell would you know that? I said, well, they must have called upstairs or something from downstairs, right?
Right.
So he says, yeah, Larry's waiting for you. I'm like, nah. He says, yeah, Larry's waiting for you. You need to go upstairs. I'm like, okay. Got to go up there, hang out with him, meet him and stuff, you know. Hung out with him for a minute. And that's the night he was messing with them with the Peach Boys. Oh, my God. He was laughing. He's looking at me. He's like, watch this.
Yeah.
Don't make me wait another night. And everybody up on the roof, you could hear it sounded like a goddamn elephant stampede coming down the staircase, thinking he was going into that song, right?
Yeah.
You could hear it
Yeah.
out, even though we were in the booth. You could hear that roar of people rushing off the roof to come to the room down right in front of him, and he's laughing, he's giggling. You know, it's like, hey, I ain't about to play this record. Pulls that shit back off. I was like, no.
Yeah. He teased the shit out of people.
He said, I won't be playing this for another 2. I was like, what? And he kept doing that shit.
Yeah,
the night that Caviano took me there, Phyllis Hyman performed. Okay? And he had Michael D. Benedictus from the Peach Boys on keyboards in the booth, right? And before they started the show with Phyllis Hyman, you know how they used to blacken the room and put those little twinkling stars on the ceiling? So they blacked the room out, they put these twinkling stars up, and all of a sudden you're hearing the keyboards from Michael D. Benedictus, and he's playing the theme from the movie. Da, 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 da,
Oh, yeah. Close Encounters.
Yes.
Yeah.
Close Encounters of
the third kind, yeah.
He plays that whole theme, right, on the
Yeah,
keyboards in a pitch black room except for those twinkling stars. When he finishes playing that, the curtain opens up and there's Phyllis Hyman. I had no idea she was even going to be there.
Okay.
Calvillo, he didn't say nothing to me about it. You know, I don't know if he knew or whatever, but we hung out most of the night. And the doors, you know, the curtains open and there's, you know, Eye of the Tiger, all shit. I'm playing. I'm like, yeah! Phyllis Hyman. I was like, damn.
Yeah.
But that club was one of a kind, bro.
No, well, this is fantastic. All these memories. I'm glad we are documenting this because it's coming right out of Adrian's memories, and I love it, Adrian.
Yeah, man.
Thank you so much for
Thank
coming
you for the
down.
opportunity.
Let me ask you something. Out of if I'm curious to know, what year would you go if you have a time machine? What year would you go back to? Back in the day, what year was the most?
Oh, definitely,
impressive in your mind?
without a doubt. For me, it was any year between 80 and 86 that I was at Silks. Okay, I had, like I said, it was my pulpit. It was my church.
Right.
Okay,
Right.
if you came there, you came and you felt. It was because people said, "You got to go hear that dude play, man. That dude could play. He plays all the shit we love, but he'd be popping some new shit that the radio ain't on. The radio people are there to hear it." And 2 weeks, 3 weeks later, they finally put it in their format.
Beautiful.
You know,
Beautiful.
I mean, I had experiences where the dude from the FM station, the night I have this on tape, the night I broke D-Train, you're the one for me. And you can actually hear me saying whenever I broke a new song and the crowd really went off to it, would be one of the few times I would get on the mic and say, this is brand new from the Whispers, if they didn't already know. Okay? But in a lot of cases, groups like that were in the club. The Whispers are from the Bay Area. So it would be the Whispers, Carl Carlton, Narada, Michael Walton, Confunction. They were regulars. George Duke, when he wasn't on tour.
I love George too.
Okay?
Yeah.
He brought Stanley Clark into my booth. Before I hired the DJ on the second side of Silks Hall, I used to hire bands. One of the bands I hired was a young Juan Escovedo, whose sister is Sheila E. Okay? I broke Glamorous Life. He brought Sheila E. to the club.
Sweet. Yeah.
Okay? Into the booth as I'm playing the intro, remixing the intro of Glamorous Life. He brings her into the booth. I get on the mic. She's like a shock because most DJs don't get on the mic and give anybody props. Okay?
Yeah.
She's from Oakland. I'm playing in Oakland. Yo, Silks family. homegirl in the house. They already knew what Glamorous Life was. They knew she was affiliated with Prince. Prince was the shit in my club. Prince has been to my club.
Yeah.
Okay? So these guys were like, oh shit, that's Sheila. And it's like, let her know how you feel about this record. Start place does crawl, and she's like, I was like, yeah, that's how we do. Okay? That's how we do. For a DJ from my era, it's about, I'm not talented in terms of the music and playing music. I learned from my uncles how to play percussion instruments. Before I ever became a DJ, I seriously contemplated becoming a percussionist because one of my uncles was a professional conga player and congacero. Okay, so I know how to play bongos, congos, shakeré,
It comes
all
natural,
of that.
man. It comes
Okay,
natural.
exactly.
It comes
It's
out
part of the rhythm.
natural, yeah.
And when I first started DJing, I would have a set in the booth. At the club in San Jose, I had a set of congas to play. I would open the mic and play along with the music.
Beautiful.
You know.
Yeah.
So, you know, it goes way back. And for me, it's always been about using the music other people create to tell a story and create a vibe.
That's a great thing. That's
Okay.
an excellent thing. What message would you give the new generation? And the next question is, what message are you sending to the new producers or the old producers that are just sitting there collecting dust and not doing anything, not getting motivated to educate and to do something creative? Because as we all know, there is some music out there, but it's all, like I call it, flatline. Nothing really exceptional as we grew up with, and because there was lyrics involved, there was a lot of melodies and instruments being played. Now it's all cold. There's no soul in the music now. Two messages: one to the new generation from Adrian Santos, and one to the producers. What should they do?
Okay. For the younger generation DJs, please don't limit yourself to one type of music. Okay? Don't come to me and tell me you just play deep house. Don't come to me and tell me you just play techno, you just play. I appreciate all of those sounds, okay? And there's a place and time for all that music. And as a DJ myself, that's one of the things I take very extreme pride in, as what I did as a DJ in clubs, okay? Like I said, I played in a minority crowd. I didn't let color influence what I played or the music person that was behind the song, okay? I played the Rolling Stones, okay? I played Art of Noise. I played Malcolm McLaren, okay? I played, along with that, R&B by the Whispers and Evelyn King. I played some rock and roll stuff, the Romantics, okay? Depeche Mode. I love those groups, okay? I played Erasure. When I played in the gay clubs, I could play ABBA. I have a disco net version of Lay All Your Love on Me that brings the house down, okay? I know music. When I'm not playing, I listen to jazz. I go to jazz concerts. 2 weeks ago, I went to Jacksonville. I go every year for the Jacksonville Jazz Festival. I see and photograph the legends of jazz. I've heard almost all of them play. I still enjoy listening to live music to this day. Whether you're a legend or not, if you can play is all I care about, okay? I've seen all the famous rock bands. Yes, Santana, Iron Maiden, I've seen them, okay? I saw Isaac Hayes at the Apollo. I've seen James Brown. I've seen Ray Charles. I don't play all of that music, okay? But I know that music.
In other words, don't
Okay.
limit yourself.
Yeah.
Don't limit yourself, because one thing that I can always say is that music has no expiration date. I cannot find in any record that you see in this room an expiration date.
Yep.
Do yourself a favor and be everything you can possibly be in music, because
open
music
your,
is
open
just,
your ears.
Yeah, that's
because
a wonderful.
when you open your ears,
Yeah.
you may hear other sounds in another form that you can incorporate into
Sure.
what you do, whether it's through sampling or whatever, or putting it on top of another beat so that it brings out some other aspect of it. Okay,
Yeah.
where I'm at nowadays as a DJ who's played for as long as I have, I'm not happy unless I'm trying to layer music and sound, okay? I don't dwell in the past in terms of playing all the original classics I might have broke. If I hear a good remix of it that brings it back to life and brings it some freshness, and it's a house or a club version, yeah, I'm on that because they're paying respect to something from the past, okay? I'm not into records that are just going to loop the main four beats from a song. That isn't me, to me, any creative production. I've never been, as a DJ, inspired to make the music on my own. I've always been one that considers myself an interpreter of the music because I listen to music and it affects me. The way I put it together, I don't even practice putting routines together. I stand up there after spending hours of listening and hearing and feeling the music, and I try and put that through me into what I do. Okay? When back in the day, yeah, as a club DJ, when I was first playing in the clubs, I had little lists of sets and stuff, but I was always flexible because if on the spur of the moment you don't have the open ear to say, well, shit, maybe that record might work. I might have had this one in the set to play, but maybe I got something in the pool earlier that day that would work just as well. That's a bomb-ass record that I know is going to be the joint in another 2 weeks, okay? If this is the point where I think I might be able to make it happen, that's what I did. And the mix may not have been flawless, but hitting them with the right record at the right time is the key. And if your crowd trusts you and says, Adrian wouldn't even be playing this unless this was the shit, okay? That's what their attitude was. It was like, this dude, he can play. If he's playing something new we haven't heard before, it's because he thinks it's worth hearing.
Absolutely.
Okay?
Absolutely.
And I had a core base of supporters that when I first got there recognized that in me, and that's what I was about, and came to me and consciously told me, we love how you play. We're here regularly. We're regulars. We will break the ice.
Yep. What about the producers?
The producers. Unfortunately, what I see from my point of view, and at this point it's not where it was, I'm not as actively involved. I'd love to be, but I'm not. But the producers that the labels seem to be promoting are people that came from the production side of making music and creating music. I think that's awesome. I don't believe that makes them a DJ.
Well, no,
okay?
Of course not.
But yet, on the circuit nowadays and in Ibiza, if you don't have a label or you don't have a record out that's hot, you ain't playing, okay? And there ain't too many people looking for OGs that have the experience because they'd rather see a young face in the booth. But the young face don't have that level of experience, okay? And doesn't even look towards an OG to get some guidance. Some people do. Not everybody, you know, the cats that really are passionate and have the same passion that we share that are younger, they'll seek us out, okay, and come for some guidance, okay? Not a lot of them, they all think, oh, you know, you're from the 90s. I hear guys on Facebook now, they think they started playing in the 90s and they call themselves an OG, and I'm laughing. I'm like, dude, you're not an OG. If you're not playing, if you didn't start out in the level where you were playing vinyl and learn to progress, like in my case, like I said, 45s, LPs, club vinyl, okay? Nowadays, I'm on Tractor, all right? I'm playing stems. I'm playing MP3s. I'm playing AI4s. I'm playing on 4 decks. And guess what? I'm using the sync button if I need to sync the 4 decks, all right? There was no parallel pitch. There was no mixes.
Such a wonderful subject.
It's a bullshit discussion that you're having about you're not a real DJ if you use the sync button. No.
Let me tell you something. You have to know your product in order. If we had this technology when we were
killed them, we would have been killing them.
Unbelievable, because
killing
it's the talent that you're using,
the
knowledge. We know, in this case, in my room here, I know each and every song. I play every record you see in this room. And I know every beat, every sound of each record. So, if I want to create something, we can do that.
Yeah.
We can put 4 turntables, 3 turntables, and use that sync button, but we know when to do it.
Yep.
Is there for a reason.
For me,
I had this the conversation with Paul Casella. A lot of people know who Paul Casella is,
Uh-huh.
and he's a legend. He's the guy who actually created the beat matching, as we okay. And he said if we had this sync button back there, we imagine what we created. But you have to know
It's been over.
music. You have to. You just have to. But
It's been over.
You know, exactly.
It's been over. Okay.
So this,
DJs would still be as powerful today if we had that technology.
if you just use the same button, there's a lot of DJs with a laptop and this and that. Yeah, they're using it. They're creating this, but it's the same crap. There's nothing different.
No.
There is the same beat, flat line throughout the whole mix. They don't have any excitement. There is no cutting. There is no changing, shifting in from one song to another. What if you go from 110 beats per minute to 128 per minute? You have to know how to do that. You have to shock the crowd. You have to shift gears in the middle of the night. You have to wake them up. You know, I go to a club nowadays. It's all the same. I go in, I get so like freaking me. This is fucking stupid.
Yeah.
I mean,
even on Tractor and Serato and stuff, you have effects that you can echo out of a tempo and change tempo that way. There's a lot of techniques.
A lot of little techniques. But you
Sound-wise, audio-wise,
You
there's
have to know.
techniques that started in the clubs, okay, so that you didn't have bass rumble if you were mixing two songs with a lot of bass. You learned how to use the EQ and take out parts of a song to emphasize something else you were bringing in. It's the same approach nowadays.
Emphasizing is important. We're creating that. We used to have a Bozak in this case. We didn't have an isolator. We didn't have any crossovers or any of that kind of thing. But we had a mixer with a bass and a treble. That's it.
Yep.
But we emphasize that when you see it, ta-dam, pam, pa-dam, you get the cymbals up. You get the bass down, up, and this and that. We need to use that tool that we have. That's why we need to learn the
They're
songs.
all tools, okay?
Yeah, exactly.
They didn't exist at the beginning.
Exactly.
That's what you cats need to understand, all right? Turntables with variable pitch control did not exist. Mixers did not exist.
Exactly.
Slip pads did not exist. All of those that are tools that came along. This is the best thing that ever happened for a DJ, okay? Having vinyl and playing on a 45 or an LP, people just don't realize the limitations in the audio, in a club that this had. But it was still, people thought it was phenomenal.
Right.
When the labels went to 12-inch vinyl and expanded the audio enhancement, what you could do on a giant sound system, that's where the impact really became great for DJs, okay? That's why 12 inches are what they are. They made clubs what they were. They were a tool, though, okay? There's still cats to this day that play only on 45s. There's still cats that to this day only want to play on a turntable. Everything is a tool to an end, okay? A means to an end. There's cats I would go see play at other clubs, either weren't technically as proficient or whatever. That's irrelevant if they knew how to rock their crowd and their crowd knew what to expect from them, okay? There's a lot of cats, that mixer was dirty. It didn't sound like it was off a little bit. So what?
Yeah.
So what?
Exactly.
Did it work?
Exactly.
Did the crowd keep on dancing? There was times I could swear, I'll swear to you on the Bible. There were times I would do mixes from one beat that was similar to another. People were dancing their favorite song, and I would literally see them look up to the booth and say, that ain't my shit no more. He mixed that shit. I didn't even realize it.
Yes, exactly.
I didn't even realize
Yeah.
This shit's tight. Hell yeah. I'm staying here. And then you had always the other people, well, no, that's not my song no more. I'll go back to my table and have my drink. Okay, but in Silks, when you had 3,000 people and overflowing dance floor, that's never an issue.
Captive audience.
Okay. The people that realized it, that liked what you did, they were like, oh shit, that ain't the song no more. But this shit's bad. That's why I didn't realize it, because this shit's tight too. I'm like, yeah. And and that's the reaction DJs in those days would get. Okay, that's where the joy for a DJ was.
I love the fact that people used to come to the club at exactly when you opened the night to listen to the way you start your night.
Yeah.
They were interested in learning in listening to your start, to do your beginning.
Yeah.
All the way through the whole night. They were loyal to that. Needed to find out because we took them to a trip.
Yeah,
We
it's a
took them to a trip.
when they talk about a musical journey, and like we
Yeah.
said, having the advantage of 7 to 8 hours to play, there was no such thing as three DJs, four DJs in a
No,
night.
man.
Like I said, for me, I played all night Thursday night. I started at 9 o'clock. I ended at 5 or 6. This is on a Thursday night. People had to go to work, but you got mostly a young crowd, and sometimes they go straight, like we used to do,
Yeah,
straight from the club to work.
Yeah.
You know. So Thursday nights it was ladies' night. I did all night. Friday night I let my boy Michael play. He would play Friday nights. I started off playing Thursday, Friday, and Saturday at Silks. Always because it was after hours. I loved that.
Yes,
Okay,
me too.
but I let him have Fridays and play Fridays. Saturday, I did a mixed show during the week, 3 hours on giant reel-to-reels for the station, KDIA AM Black Urban Station, in 1980. Okay, with 3 hour show from 9 to 12. The Silks mix show, Silks Party Mix or whatever. Then from midnight, I started live at midnight at the Silks. Okay, I would be there at 11 and listen to the last hour of what the guy before me was playing, so I wouldn't go there. Okay, and it all depended. If he peaked them at Ready for the World at something high energy, I would start at midnight. People knew I started at midnight. Hey, let's go more bounce to the ounce. Fuck it, I'm starting off. I'd get on the mic and say, hey, it's midnight. We're going to the after hours. This is this is. They call me old school now. I wasn't called that then. I got that from the record store. It's from the kids in the record store. But I would just get on the mic and I'd say, oh, it looks like the stars are out tonight. And I do mean the ladies, fellas. And that would be it.
Yeah.
And they'd say, oh, yeah, okay, here's the shit. 2 o'clock, the other clubs closed. A whole new influx of people at 3,
Yeah,
2:30, 3 o'clock.
That's a third shift.
I was good
after
to 8,
hours
9 in the
yeah.
morning.
Certainly.
Okay?
Yeah.
8, 9 in the morning, we go eat breakfast after the club closed. By the time I started driving back to San Jose, the parking lot at the Oakland Coliseum would be filling up for the Raiders games on Sunday morning. Okay, they'd already be tailgating.
Wow.
Okay, I'd drive home, sleep for 3 or 4 hours, and get up to watch the 49ers play with Montana and Rice and all those cats. That was the shit. Okay, the 49ers would come to the club, the Raiders, the Warriors, any New York teams that knew me. I grew up with New York with cats that played in the NBA. They would come to play the Warriors. They're like, yeah, where are we going? Oh, we're going to the Celtics because my boy plays there.
Right.
Okay, World B. Free walks in.
Yeah.
Moses Malone, Julius Erving, Marcus Allen from the Raiders. Dude's at the door. Hey, man, this dude says he's Marcus Allen from the Raiders. They make me go all the way up to the door. I'm a Niner fan. They're a Raiders fan. Because they wear helmets, they didn't even recognize the dude. I said, dude, that's Marcus Allen. Why would you not even believe him?
Yeah.
He's got a group of dudes with him that are like 6'9",
Yeah,
that are like this.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
they're all football players. Those are the Raiders, dude. That's your team. And it was so funny because I said to Marcus, Marcus, I'll tell you straight up, I'm a Niner fan. He just started laughing. I said, these are all Raiders fans at the door. All the security is. I said, and they came to me and didn't believe that was you. He just started cracking up. It was hilarious.
This is so much fun. Guys, I just wanted to thank everybody for listening to Adrian tell the story, the untold story. This is documented. This is going to be in his legacy on the website, legendsofvinyl.com, obviously. So my last question to you is give us an idea of how you feel about the Legends of Vinyl organization, Adrian.
Well, to me, it's the best thing that could have ever happened for cats from our generation, okay? For me, it's validation that the sacrifices I made, the things I did to help other DJs and to help the art form are recognized as having been worthwhile, okay? The board of directors is made up of people that I had direct contact with as a DJ, that promoted to me, that supported me, that financed me. Like I said, I didn't pay to come home to the New Music Seminar or any other seminar I went to that was dance music related. One label would pay for the airfare, another label would pay for the hotel. Rest of the week when I was in town at the seminar, people were taking me out to dinner every night, making sure I had entrance into the clubs, introducing me to all the other legendary DJs from our era. That was respect. That's all I ever wanted out of this, okay? Like I said, this is Facebook, pre-media, pre-cell phones. Anything you attained as far as recognition was because of what the industry recognized you did. Okay, and to me, that's always been the more important thing. I'm not that dude that goes out there, hey, I'm DJ Adrian Santos. You know, to this day, this is like probably one of the few times I've ever really spoken in depth about what I went through.
This is
Okay?
exactly why we're
But the
here.
fact of the matter is, I'm extremely proud of who I am and the choices I made in my life. Okay? I know, like I said to Luis earlier, what part I played.
I know. And it's recorded, it's documented, and we thank you from the bottom of our heart because this organization cares for all of those heroes that are still around, and we need to hear from everybody.
That's the reason why I recorded
Okay,
too.
so
Okay?
I want to thank everybody. I want to thank you, Adrian,
Right
from
on,
the
man.
bottom of my heart.
Appreciate it.
God bless you and